Hello and welcome. Zeta Supitas. Today we're going to be going into the future and talk about Zenon, Girl of the 21st Century. Zenon, the Girl of the 21st Century was released in 1999, right on the edge of the millennium, and this was a really huge endeavor that everyone talked about because it was Y2K and
the world is gonna end at midnight tonight. Y2K. Y2K. Haven't you heard? At midnight, every computer in the world is gonna fail. Planes will fall out of the sky, and all the world's nuclear weapons will explode, annihilating the entire planet.
Everything was all about the future and what they could predict, and we have this wonderful 90s aesthetic film where it's half 90s fashion but futuristic, and some things they get right, some things are outdated now. We're looking back 20 years from when this movie premiered basically, and it takes place in 2049, 30 years now from that point on. So we're halfway from the past, still halfway into the future when it takes place, and it's an interesting thing to think about presently. Zenon, who is played by Christian Storms, is a 13-year-old girl who lives on a spaceship.
Morning, Glorious. May I be the first to tell you how fully stellanaris you look, as usual. Don't forget, science test today.
And everyone's doing research. So people still live on Earth, but a lot of people live on this spaceship because they're all scientists or their parents are scientists. So it is very realistic that this could happen, that people are living on a space station. We already have astronauts and things, so it's realistic in that sense, and these kids are also living in space with them, and they've lived in space for 8 years at this point because she went up from Earth when she was 5 years old, and now she's 13 and she loves living on the space station. Personally, I don't know why, because you're literally restricted into this little container and you can't go outside anywhere. You're only inside, and I don't know how people don't get stir crazy in reality, but the people also are really afraid of Earth, and they make Earth seem like a really bad thing. Of course, the plot is that she ends up having to end up back down on Earth with her Aunt Judy, and she ends up freaking out because she gets grounded on Earth, and she has to deal with getting back up to space even though Earth is still beautiful. It's hard to say because we're halfway point-wise, but there's so much that's changed from 1999, and if they knew what we knew today, they predicted something that was completely opposite of what is reality today. They also make predictions like Chelsea Clinton being president of the United States.
As I was saying, Chelsea Clinton has taken a...
And I feel like that's just really interesting. Bill Clinton was president during that time, so they just decided to take the current president and pass it down to his child. It's just funny looking back at these films. That's what happens with the future. Unless you're doing an alternate reality future, if you're trying to make it realistic, even though this is just a regular movie and it's not really the main focus, you do always look to see what is going to happen in the future, and they predicted some things that are great, but otherwise everything is completely outdated. The computers are so outdated, including the websites. Which cracks me up the most. I do love 90s aesthetic, and that's really a lot of what I grew up with, obviously, but it stayed with me, and I do love how simplistic everything looks. But 20 years later down the road, everything is completely different. Everything is a lot more modern, and the computers do not look anything like they did back then, nor do the websites that we have. And the websites were just brand new back then, but it's just so fun to look at. And of course, this is just a fun family film. That was a really huge film to me, even though I didn't pay attention to it for the futureness of it. It's just something that stuck out in my mind because I was in the right time age for it. But I really did enjoy it. The story is really great otherwise, except for the future oddities. And not only do we have Christian Storms, we have Raven Simone in here. She plays her best friend Nebula.
Tell me, Microbe is coming here for the very first rock concert in space. What happened?
And it's a really cute film. They also want to have Protozoa, who is this really big famous rock star, come up, and his band is going to be the first band to ever perform in space. It's a really fun adventure film where there's a lot at stake going on and they have to save their space station, otherwise they're going to get shut down and go back to Earth. And it's really cool to see what they've done, and everything is a great resolution at the end. The interaction with her on Earth is really great, even though it is also very 90s. It's like they didn't even try to make it seem like everyone was in the future on Earth. They just only focus on the futuristic look in space. There's a lot of original songs that we had even in the beginning from Disney Channel original movies. And this one is called Supernova Girl. And I remember this so distinctly. I mean, this song always stuck out to me. But I remember after watching the premiere of the film, which I was 99, I was like 8 years old at this point. I remember them having a contest during this time where if you knew what the name of this song was, which is Supernova Girl, but I didn't know at the time because I wasn't a smart person. I thought it was just Zoom 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 because that's the entire hook. But if you knew the name of the song, you were able to enter a contest and get a chance to win to go to space camp. So obviously I didn't win because I didn't enter because I didn't know the song name, but I'm curious who actually won now and what their experience was like. I know I probably will never find out, but it would be cool to know because I remember this contest distinctly on television right after the credits, right after this movie premiered. So just a random fact that I'm just like, this was interesting. Memories.
Make my heart go, my supernova girl. Make my heart go, my supernova girl. Make my heart go, my supernova girl.
This is still one of the better Disney Channel original movies. This is one that was always one of my favorites growing up, and one that I remembered probably because it had that really cool future aesthetic to it, and it just was a very interesting story, and the cast was really great. And I think this one's the best compared to the sequel and the third one. There's a sequel and there's a third film as well, which we're gonna be talking about in the next couple days, but this one, even I remember the best out of the three of them. But tomorrow we're gonna continue. We're gonna be talking about Zenon the sequel because it did come out with a sequel. Not sequel, but sequel. So stay tuned, and as always, I hope you have a magical day, and I will see you real soon.